It's been a busy summer. Russia and China have been working together with strategic flights near Alaska. The Russian Navy has sailed south to the South China Sea for a naval exercise with the Chinese Navy, and China has conducted a 10-day patrol with their Shandong aircraft carrier near Taiwan, conducting 240 flights during that deployment. I've been following this and many other stories with my go-to news app, Ground News. I highly recommend Ground News. This is an operational view of the current news space, covering a wide variety of news sources all around the globe, ranking them by factuality and biases. You can check it out with my personal link in the description, ground.news/subbrief. Let's take a look at China and Russia starting naval drills. The first article is from You're Active Here, a high factual but left-leaning news site. The headline reads, China, Russia conduct joint Pacific military patrol, period. Straightforward, just the facts, and a true statement. Well done. Now, let's check out other news sources like the Western Australian, for instance, a high factual but right-leaning news site. The right-leaning news site title is China, Russia start joint naval drills after NATO jibe. Here is a news source trying to frame the annual naval exercise as a response to a NATO comment. And at no point in the article does it mention that this naval exercise is conducted every summer and is scheduled months in advance. And it's not a response to anything NATO does or says. In fact, the article incorrectly conflates recent NATO comments with current Asian Pacific events. Ground News offers critical information about this news topic right on the front page. The factuality report gives me a perspective of how a story is being presented by the news sites. Ground News also keeps me updated with worldwide news. I can stay informed on events happening across Europe and Asia that are not covered by my local news media. This is why I partnered with Ground News. I use their service regularly with or without sponsorship. I trust Ground News to provide me news stories with context. Context that helps me understand the news better. Use my link in the description or scan the QR code and take advantage of 40% off the Vantage subscription. This is the subscription that I have. By doing so, you'll be supporting the Subbrief channel. We do our best to bring you topical news in a fun and interesting way. By clicking the link in the description, you'll get a great news feed and keep the Subbrief team going. And I would appreciate it. Let's head over to Turkish Istanbul shipyard. Turkey launched a new ship, an Ada-class corvette for the Ukrainian Navy. The Hetman Ivan Vygotsky was launched, and sea trials have already begun pierside with a Ukrainian captain, staff, and crew on board. Typhoon Ozbrek has a great article detailing this launch in this ship, and I'll link his story from navalnews.com in the description as well. Typhoon is a great writer. His full-time job is with Naval News, but he's also our technical writer here at Subbrief, so we appreciate all the contribution that he does, including our Ada-class corvette ship brief that we published a couple months ago. So let's start with just the weapons on board this very capable and compact corvette. On the bow, we have a 76mm auto-compact gun. This gun is already twice the size in terms of caliber of that gun that we're putting on our own Constellation-class frigate right now. So this is a big gun on a small ship. Behind that is the bridge and sensors. We'll get to that next. But between the bridge and the exhaust, you see a little open area there, and that's where they have the anti-ship missile launchers. Now, they can shoot the Harpoon or the Atmatka, Turkish version of the Harpoon. Either one will work. Below that, you may see a little door there. Looks like a square. That door slides back to reveal a pneumatically charged torpedo launcher that ejects a Mark 54, very capable, American-made torpedo into the water. And these are on port and starboard side too, folks. We're just looking at one side of this. Going aft of that, you can see the exhaust stacks there. But if you look closely, you'll also see the remote control weapon system. This is a 12.7mm gun. One faces port, one faces starboard for engaging small targets that are on or near the surface there. Behind that is the RIM 116, which is the rolling airframe missile launcher. It's a point defense missile, carries 21 missiles in it, and is designed to engage incoming threats, whether they're airborne, aircraft, helicopters, or cruise missiles coming after the ship. This launcher will pivot and shoot a surface-to-air missile, short-range missile, in the direction of the threat. Let's move on to sensors here. They pack a lot of sensors on this little corvette as well. This is a very efficient design, lightweight, small hull, very fast, a lot of weapons and a lot of sensors in this little package. On the bow, below the waterline, they have the mounted sonar system. The corvette is designed to operate in littoral waters, and so it has a great sonar system designed for that. So you can do a good submarine sonar search in shallow waters, which is a complex environment to be doing something like that. All right, behind that you have the bridge, and on the top are all the sensors. We'll start at the top here. They have the Smart S Mark II. That's an ASA air search radar and surface search. It does multiple things, very long range for its size, and that's going to be its primary search sensor above the waterline. Going down below that, they have multiple radars from navigation aids like the Sperry Marine, which they have two of those, one forward and one aft, which is a unique configuration for that. Below that is the low probability of intercept radar. So if they need to operate their surface search radar in a contested airspace where they don't want to be detected, or at least decrease their chance of being detected, they would operate the Alcin LPI radar. Below that is an electrical optical sensor that is used for the gun. So they can lock onto targets passively or actively with the radar itself and direct gunfire onto targets. There is another electrical optical sensor on the back called the ASIL FLIR 300T that does the same job. It is passive object tracking, so the target doesn't realize it's being tracked, and once a good solution is in, they can put fire on target without alerting the target before shells are in the air. And then behind that, of course, is the rolling airframe launcher we mentioned earlier. That one doesn't need a sensor because the guidance sensor on the ram, each missile has its own FLIR sensor. So very good ship. Here's a picture of some of the crew that are doing sea trials right now, and the testing of systems will always begin pierside. So just because she's in sea trials doesn't mean she's actually at sea at the moment. Even though this shipyard is on the Sea of Marmara there, just south of the Bosporus Strait in that body of water, she'll likely not go to sea for several days or maybe even weeks as they test systems by the pier so that if something fails, they can get it quickly replaced and repaired. Also, there's no danger to the ship being stranded at sea if something critical happens. So they're doing that right now, but eventually they are going to have to begin sea trials in the Sea of Marmara. And it's likely that Turkey will not allow the passage of this warship through the Bosporus Strait because it is part of the Ukrainian Navy, or after it's commissioned, it'll be part of the Ukrainian Navy. And so that kind of complicates things, that once it enters the Ukrainian Naval Service and it's in a Turkish port, I'm not sure what the rules are about that. So I talked to Typhoon about this briefly via email, and Typhoon lives in Turkey. He understands the military and political environment over there. He's also a former Turkish Navy surface warfare officer, so he understands these rules very well. And he assures me that there's already a precedent of closing the Bosporus Strait to Russian warships. They're not going to make an exception for a Ukrainian warship, even though they could. There is an exception that once a country in conflict builds a new ship, they are allowed a one-time passage at the behest or the grace of Turkey if they allow them the one-time passage through the Bosporus Straits. And he assures me that's simply not going to happen. So while this ship is going through its sea trials, it will be commissioned in Turkey. It will not be allowed into the Black Sea until after the conflict with Russia is over. This means the ship will likely stay in a Turkish harbor until that time. This war shows no signs of ending anytime soon, so it could be a long time for these Ukrainian sailors in a Turkish port on their new ship. So my question to you in the chat is, in 2024, how do these laws apply, or what do you think should happen? Is there a limit to how long a naval warship from a country at war can seek safe harbor in a neutral port? What's the limit on that? Is there a limit? Put your answer in the chat. I look forward to reading what you guys think. And thank you again to Ground News for sponsoring this video. Use my link in the description or scan the QR code to take advantage of the 40% off Vantage subscription. By doing this, you'll be supporting the Subbrief channel, and we're doing our best to bring you topical naval news in a fun and exciting way. Take advantage of our offer, and you'll also be supporting the Subbrief team. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.